Stop the presses, hold the phone. Court is once again in session, and the last time that it was in session was the early part of the year when I done a series called Considering Predaking in 2018. And in that series I sort of discussed the evolution of Predaking from his early G1 days through Transformers Prime to a bunch of third-party offerings that we have and where they may fit in various collections, all in anticipation of the release of the Titan Class Predaking for the Power of the Primes line. Alas, I didn't believe for a moment I would get a chance to look at that Titan Class Predaking, and we're going to actually, thanks to friend of the channel Cyril, start that series today, which is sort of an addendum, I suppose, sort of the actual end for the Considering Predaking series, by taking a look at this. This, of course, is the box for Titan Class Predaking, and we're going to do an unboxing, an initial reaction, and a review of this little guy. This, of course, is Onyx Prime. We're gonna start things off by looking at all of this stuff in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. I appreciate you being here. Please like, comment, share, and of course subscribe. Stick around, have some fun with us. This is going to be the start of the Transformers Power of the Primes Titan Class Predaking series. Check me out everywhere. Have a look at Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, and Transformers Collectors NL. And like I said, I'm getting an opportunity to look at this thanks to friend of the channel, Cyril. It is beyond appreciated. Okay. I'm going to kind of try and do three things in this particular video. The first is going to be discussing the box and the box art, because that's kind of interesting. It's especially worth noting a few of the details about the way Predaking looks on the box, but I'll talk about that later. I'm also going to, because I know if I don't I'll forget him otherwise, take a look at Onyx Prime. And last but not least, I want to discuss how I'm going to sort of be addressing this guy in light of a series that I did earlier the year that basically ran between episodes 354 to 369. There was an intro to Considering Predaking with a lot of history in it. Then there was the entire Unique Toys Warlord that we looked at and kind of considered, you know, if he fits and how he fits. He wasn't worth the initial cost of admission, but he has taken a huge price cut. So I thought he was looking at again. And we took a look at the Jinbao oversized Nero Rex as a way of discussing Feral Rex and a little bit on TFC's Ares. Not a lot, but a little. I'd love to look at that, by the way. And I speculated a lot about this, especially when we got to the end where I drew some conclusions. I didn't think, like I said, I didn't think I would get a chance to look at this, but I want to set up how I'm going to kind of grade this guy, because he falls in a very interesting location when it comes to the offerings that are available. And like I said, as far as this guy goes, if I don't look at him now, I'm going to forget. So, how about I stop babbling about the box and Onyx Prime, we head over to the table and take a closer look at all this. Alright, so there's a few things that we have to get accomplished here in this kind of initial start of looking at this guy. And I really, like I said, I didn't expect to get a chance to do this. I'm going to look at the packaging in the box. We're going to do the unboxing and kind of initial reactions. We'll take a look at Onyx Prime, because if I don't do it now, I'm gonna forget. And I'll kind of set up how I'm going to look at this guy in relation to the kind of Considering Predaking series in 2018 that I did back in January, February. So this is the box, and it's a fair-sized box. It's every bit as big as the Combiner Wars Devastator box. I think it's probably a little bit smaller than Metroplex and Triptychon. I think it's thinner, you know, depth-wise. But again, we have nice artwork here on it. And we'll see the artwork better when we look at the poster that comes with this. Nice artwork on it, some Autobots that kind of don't stand a chance and look awfully small next to this guy. It's beautiful. Over here, of course, we have pictures of the 5 Predacons, and up here we have, you know, includes this big poster thing. It's nice, and of course, over here, it includes Onyx Prime. As far as I know, as of this recording, that's the only way to get Onyx Prime. So it is what it is. On the top of the box, we have all of the Predacons there. You will notice that we have Torox and not Tantrum. I think that's a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. There's a lot there. On this side of the box, of course, we have you know, more of the art. And on the other side of the box, we have really just the 12 Prime symbols again. The bottom is just power of the Primes, and then we come to the back. And you'll notice right now the way that it's sort of oriented. I'll readjust this in a minute, but we have a full size kind of image of Predaking right there. I'll reorient this and then we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. And here we are with perhaps the correct orientation for this side of the box. Of course, product shots all over here and right here. Now, something that I want to mention before I get going. And I'll talk about this more later on, but I was right about something and I was incorrect about something, because when I had done the Considering Predaking in 2018 series, we had seen nothing for this guy at that point except for the wing pack in gray. And I've done a lot of speculation. I thought that either he might be a bit smaller, because unlike Devastator, who was 6 Voyager class figures, this guy was 5 Voyager class figures, so I said he might be smaller. If he's smaller, hopefully he is at a little bit cheaper of a price point. Or I said he'll be at the regular Titan class price point and he'll be about the size of Devastator. Here's how it turned out. I was correct about the price point. He was a regular price point for a Titan class figure. Here in Canada, that is $229. That being said, while Fortress Maximus was that price, and Trypticon, this guy is certainly shorter than Fort Max, and slightly shorter than Trypticon. Of course, those are, you know, one huge figure. This is technically, I guess you could say, a 7-in-1 set, because you have the 5 Predacons, you have the, technically, Onyx Prime, and of course you have the huge Gestalt. And, like, I get it, like, it's cool, I get it. So I was correct about the price. It's your regular Titan class price. That's interesting to know, and we'll talk about that later. Also, he is your, we'll say, regular Titan class combiner size, basing that, of course, on Predaking. And even the Jinbao KO was 18 inches, roughly. So, in a little bit I'm going to talk about exactly how I'm sort of measuring this guy. But there you go, that's the box. It really stands out on the shelf. It looks really nice. Now, for something more interesting, what of course is inside the box? Well, first and foremost, we have this huge instruction booklet. It's actually pretty good. We start out, of course, with Onyx Prime, and we kind of see down here how the hands and feet go together. The images are small because there's a lot covered, but this guy's not that hard to figure out anyway. It's a fine instruction booklet, and of course we do have the locations of all the stickers. Actually, it's pointed out fairly nicely. I kind of dig this instruction booklet. I am okay with it. And then of course we have the poster, and like, I love Predaking because he is for not being a Scramble City combiner, like, he is one of those examples of a combiner that, like, is consistently inconsistent, and I love it. A few things I want to note here, especially as we end up looking at the figure. First, note the hands. We have like sharp fingers, like claw fingers, and we have spikes on the knuckles. Keep that in mind. Also, notice the placement of his arm cannon. It is on Rampage over on the left arm. So keep that in mind as well. By the way, the placement of the cannon on the left arm is the way it was in the G1 toy. However, that being said, look at the placement of the limbs. While the cannon is in the correct location on the left arm compared to the toy, we should have Dive Bomb on that side, and we should have Headstrong on that side. And we should have Rampage as the right arm, and we should have Tantrum as the right leg. We have the limbs reversed on this image, but that's all right because the placement of the limbs is the correct placement if we're going by the animation. It's like they were mirror opposites of each other. Of course, if we're having the limbs be mirrored, then the placement of the cannon should also be mirrored. You see, in the animation, while this limb configuration is correct, the arm cannon was on his right arm. If we're going by the toy, then the arm cannon is correct, but the limbs are backwards. I love this guy because you can kind of put him in either configuration, and like people look at it and they see the huge wing pack, and they see the lion head on his chest, and the iconic head, and like his basic mix of like reds, yellows, blacks, and oranges, and say, yeah, that's Predaking. I absolutely love it. But there you go, it's artwork. It does look glorious. Those Autobots don't stand a chance on the back of this. We just have kind of a picture of all the primes. You know, it is what it is. We're not told what their skills are here, just the like rename. Now we're told what like each one represents, but we're not told what skill it specifically gives Predaking. As for the figure, or figures, and what's in the box itself, this is basically it. Now, admittedly, I didn't show the sticker sheet because the stickers have already been applied to this guy, and I have him laid back in the box. Truth is, when I got him, he was already out of the box. But I wanted to show him from kind of where he starts. I believe that this is correct for the way he was put in the box. If I'm incorrect, hey, somebody can let me know. But this is basically how it was. The box is heavier than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be much lighter, so I give credit where credit is due. We have the 2 feet here. We have Headstrong over here. We have like a cannon piece up here that belongs to Razor Claw. We have Rampage here with his kind of cannon piece. We have over on this side, we have Torox. Down below him with the wing pack, we have Dive Bomb, and we have these pieces which become dive bombs, kind of blasters, I suppose. Now, normally I would look at all of the accessories and then I'd start looking at each figure. We're going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to get these guys out, I'm going to set them up with their accessories, and then I'm going to kind of talk about how I want to handle some things. But before we do that, we do have a figure to look at here. And you'll notice I didn't point him out here. That, of course, is Onyx Prime. So where is he to? By now, I think most people know that he's nestled snugly within Razor Claw. So let's do that first, and then I'll set these guys up with their accessories and talk about how I intend to kind of look at them. And you'll notice that we have Razor Claw here now on the table. Now we're not going to look at him now, we're going to look at him another time, but suffice it to say that because we're looking at the Onyx Primal that comes with this guy, then it was appropriate to have him out here at the moment. Now, this guy is actually a number of firsts. A number of firsts. He is the first Titan class combiner with 5 Voyager class bots instead of 6. He is the first combiner in the Power of the Primes line that does not actually come with an Enigma of combination. Go figure, you know? Go figure. You'd figure he would have definitely had one, but no, he comes with a, I don't know, a combination matrix, like a beast matrix, I guess, I don't know. We lift up the head of Razor Claw and we have a matrix in here. This is the first guy who's not a matrix bearer or a prime who comes with a matrix. It's yellow. It's pretty much exactly the same as the one that came with Rodimus Prime, and he's the first one to have a matrix that does not have like a matrix core in it, rather it has a Prime Master in it. It just slots in behind here, and when you put the head down, it kind of looks like the lion ears, so I think that that's sort of cool how it worked out. Like, yellow is definitely the right choice here. It slots in easily, it comes out easily. There's the space there, I just took it out, no problem. It slots back in, no problem. Excellent tolerance there, absolutely excellent tolerance. So I'm going to get razor clad out of the way, and then we'll look at this guy in matrix and then out of matrix. And I will admit that that looks pretty cool. Like, that's a cool looking matrix. Why there's not a matrix core and we have Onyx Prime in here, I don't know, but like, I can dig it. I'm all right with it. And of course we pop him out of the center. And we're just left with the housing. It's yellow. It's exactly, I believe, like Rodimus Prime's. But what about Onyx Prime himself? Now, of course, this isn't the little Prime Master. This is what Onyx Prime looks like as per the Covenant of Primus. And I would love to get a figure like this. Like, it looks so cool. I mean, there are 4 legs there, but he could stand up on his hind ones with his front ones down in front of him, and he still had arms and wings. Like, that would be such a cool figure to have. Maybe one day, maybe one day. In the meantime, what we do have is this little guy who is red and black, and of course we just unfolded him like we do with all of these Titan Masters, Prime Masters. It's a nice mix. He doesn't have a whole lot of paint to him. It's pretty decent detailing. There's some black paint on the face. It's all right. You know, he's like all of these. I do think that the colors certainly match Predaking. I think it's a bit strange that we have a Prime kind of connected to a bunch of Decepticons, but hey, whatever works, man. It's fine. If you're in for the Prime Masters, then like, he's no better, no worse than any of them. He looks pretty good. I'd like to have a full-sized Onyx Prime, but hey, for now, this is what we got. And if I'm not mistaken, somebody can correct me on it, I think this is the first time we've actually gotten any type of a figure form of Onyx Prime. So Onyx Prime, as a Prime Master, you know, he's a 5. Like, he's average. He's as good or as bad as any of them. If you're, you know, like, if you're into the Prime Masters, then he's as good as any of the others. Pinned at the hips, pinned at the knees. I'll say this, his ball joint at the head and the arms, I mean, they move nicely for as much movement as you get out of them. If you're not into the Prime Masters, then like, this guy's not going to change your mind. Though I must say, I do like his mix of like that reddy orange and the black, and I do like the paint on the back. I think that that's really nice. So, as far as the Prime Master goes, I think he's a win. It is what it is. And of course, this is the whole set. Now, like I mentioned, normally I would go through the accessories and then I'd start looking at each figure when it's a box set. I like to do box sets together, but I don't think it would be fair in this case to do that. Back in January, February, I did look at, I guess, a couple of iterations of Predaking. I looked at specifically the Unique Toys Warlord, and I looked at specifically the Jinbao oversized Nero Rex, because that's what I could get my hands on rather than the oversized Feral Rex. But I did, of course, make reference to Feral Rex, the official Feral Rex, and even TFC's iteration of Predaking. But I wanted to look at those 2 full sets in their kind of completion, you know, in terms of considering Predaking in 2018. In fact, I kind of had some opening thoughts and kind of a history of the evolution of the character and sort of where we started from the G1 right through to the third-party incarnations as we were leading up to this. I'd done that sort of overview in episode 354. I concluded the series in episode 369. So, like, everything to do with Considering Predaking in 2018 runs between episodes 354 and 369. I took a couple of breaks in between there along the way. And I made a lot of speculation about this guy. As I mentioned earlier, I was correct on the price. It's a regular Titan class price, but I was incorrect about the size. If we're talking about cost, then here's kind of what I concluded. The low end of the spectrum is probably the smallest offering from any of the Predakings that are out there. That being Warlord, you can get the entire box set, so to speak, for about 120 US, or at least you could at the time of that recording. I assume you still can. That's comparable to what, like, a regular kind of Combiner Wars. A little bit more, but he comes with some, bits and pieces. But it's comparable to what, like, a Combiner Wars Combiner would be. It has Voyager body, 4 deluxe class limbs. Then I said, if we're talking about cost, that next to that we have the kind of middle ground being TFC Ares for $229 US, and now this guy for, I believe it's $159 US, it's $229 Canadian, I think it's $159 US, and technically the Jinbao KO for $160 US. So $159, $160 for the KO, $229 for Ares. And then at the top, the one that is widely regarded as the king of the Predakings, MMC's Feral Rex, for still going at about $500. If you want the absolute kind of top quality incarnation for Predaking, then you probably want to go with Feral Rex. But outside of that, I think, and I concluded this as well, that for a Chug representation, I really feel like, or felt like at least, that the Unique Toys Warlord fit in better and fit the aesthetic better. As for the two in the middle, being the KO and Ares, I kind of thought the KO was what you would go to if you were an MP collector. Still not exactly MP detailed, but highly detailed, and because of its size of 18 inches, it would certainly fit in on that shelf, I think, just fine. Sort of left Ares out in the cold a little bit, but we'll get to that, because then we have to consider size. So, when it comes to price, top end, Feral Rex, low end, Warlord, and then in the middle would be this guy along with the KO and Ares. Fair enough. Then we get to size. When it comes to size, as previously mentioned, I think that the Unique Toys Warlord fits in best with the aesthetic and the sizing and the scaling of Combiner Wars, if that's what you're into. Then we have Feral Rex and Ares, sort of in the middle. They range 13 to 15 inches, 14-ish inches. Especially Feral Rex, because his legs can extend and make him a bit taller. So they're sort of in the middle. And now we get to the big ones. And the big ones are the KO for 18 inches, and now this guy for 18 inches in height. Interesting. We're going to see exactly how this guy stacks up with the offerings that are out there. Is this too little too late to the marketplace? Should it have been done earlier? Are people looking at this and saying, I've already got Predaking? Are people going to replace it with this? Is it worth replacing with this? There's a whole lot of questions that I didn't really expect to really get to answer, because I didn't expect to get to look at this set. Since I looked at a character at a time before, it's only fair that I look at a character at a time here. I'm going to specifically discuss this set in relation to how it compares with Chug, because technically it should be kind of displayed and whatnot with your Chug collection, in which case it's highly accurate to compare him to Warlord, who I think is kind of the going measure for something that matches a Chug collection. And we're going to talk about whether or not he could possibly fit in an MP collection. Because, of course, the going rate really for that is the comparably sized and comparably priced Jinbao KO of Feral Rex. Where does this guy fit in terms of, like, the marketplace? And is he good quality? It's going to be an interesting ride. So far, I think we're starting off really kind of strong because these guys look cool together. I'm going to look at the accessories that are appropriate to each one with each character, and we've already taken a look at Onyx Prime, who I think, you know, is a nice little throw in there. It's nice to kind of get that exclusively, I suppose, in this box set, if you're in for this box set. If you're not, and you're in for Prime Masters, it's a nuisance that you would have to get all of this just to get him. But who knows, maybe you would fall in love with this set once you had it in hand. Anyway, that's kind of our setup. So, he's going to be compared to his placement in terms of chug and in terms of MP. By the way, I find the engineering on these extremely interesting, as I see a lot of nods to a lot of different things, and we'll talk about that when we talk about each figure. For now, what's my initial reaction? Bulky, like real bulky, like the accessories, bulky, the like feet pieces up here, bulky, the beast modes, bulky. Is that good or bad? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure, but he's definitely heavier, and the plastic is more dense and robust than I really expected it to be. It's certainly more dense and robust than it was on Devastator. So we'll see how all of this pans out going forward, as technically this is an addendum to your consideration of Predaking in 2018 and kind of which one might fit your collection the best. So here we are once again, and I think the box is very interesting, or the artwork on the huge poster that comes with it. We do see kind of clawed hands, we do see spikes on the knuckles, which we're not getting, and I understand that, the whole kid-friendly thing. Although the Unique Toys version has it, and you can get an add-on kit for the Jinbao KO that has sharper, I guess, fingernails. We'll say fingernails. I'm not sure what the hands are like on Ares. Maybe somebody can let me know. But I get why officially they didn't do it. I understand it, and they've done the best that they could. We haven't looked at any hand yet, really, but we'll look at it later. I also think it's very interesting, sort of the layout of the figures that we have. Like, I don't really know what to think of it at this point, but again, we'll talk about that later. Onyx Prime here, like he's I guess he's pretty good. He's a Prime Master. You know, I think that orange and yellow is one of the more unique color schemes. I don't know if we're going to get him any other way besides this. I do think that it's very interesting that we have a lot of firsts, really, with this set. It's the first combiner in the Power of the Primes line that we've gotten without an Enigma of combination, oddly, even though it's the largest combiner from the Power of the Primes line. It's the first that's come with a matrix, or at least the housing of a matrix, but not the core of a matrix, but instead a Prime Master. And I think it's the first time that we've had like a Prime that is really, I guess, designed to be integral, emplaced, whatever you want to call it, with a Decepticon, or in this case a group of Decepticons. It was an interesting choice to do it this way, I think. And it's a nice little bonus, I suppose, if you're into these Prime Masters. You know, he's nothing more special. Do I think that you should buy the entire box set just to get Onyx Prime? Oh, no, I don't. Do I think that you should go out and pay crazy amounts on the aftermarket for Onyx Prime? No. If anything, man, get yourself just a spare Prime Master and, like, paint it yourself. You know, and call it Onyx Prime if you really want it, because that's probably your cheapest route. If you're in for Predaking anyway, then this is great. I do wish that the poster had kind of the abilities, not of each individual Prime, but the abilities that they give Predaking. And I do think that fresh out of box, those beast modes look real bulky. I keep saying that, but it's true. I don't think that's going to be their strongest suit. Now, I guess we'll see as we go forward. And in terms of where I'm going to be kind of placing this guy to grade him, it's really interesting. In terms of a chug representation, from the ones that we already have available, I think that the best going chug representation is Unique Toys Warlord so far. It's basically the right size for Combiner Wars, slightly bigger, as I think Predaking should be, but it's not enormous like Devastator, who's made up out of 6 huge construction vehicles. So he works in regards of looks. Some people have complained about certain functionality with him and stability with him, although I don't really find him bad with mine. If you have seen my look at each of those figures and the combined mode, like mine's pretty good. Maybe I was lucky. I don't know. I will offer an addendum though. I said in the combined video for him, and I'll probably mention this sometime again throughout our look here at Titan Class Predaking, I said that putting in the arms on Warlord was brutal. And it was. But I find over time it has gotten easier. I guess things have worn just a little bit, but it's still quite snug. It's just, I don't know if I've found the right way to do it, or if it's gotten wore down a little bit from me plugging in the arms and unplugging them a few times. Anyway, either way, that method is not as good as the method for Predaking. I can tell you that right now. Predaking is a lot nicer and smoother to put together. So in terms of a chug, I think the best one to compare it to is going to be, undoubtedly, the Unique Toys Warlord. So I'll discuss him a fair bit. Then, in terms of size, in the middle of the road we have Feral Rex and we have Ares, both 13 to 15 inches. I feel like they're kind of their own size, so to speak. Like, they're not big enough to be Masterpiece, they're not really small enough to be Chug, but they would go well with a lot of other third-party combiners that are also in the same range of about 13 to 15 inches. And then, in terms of size, at the high end of the spectrum we have the Jinbao knockoff of Feral Rex. It's about 18 inches, well 15 to 18 inches. Predaking here, when he's all together, will be 18 inches. So I think it's most accurate to discuss this guy in relation to the current best Chug representation, that being Warlord, and the current best possible Masterpiece representation because of his size, that being the KO Jinbao version. Where does this guy fit in? Better with Chug? Better with MP? I guess we're going to find out as time goes on, and a lot of it, honestly, will be pretty subjective. Not just for me, but what you think. Anyway, let me know what your initial reaction is to this, especially the surprising realization that he's heavier than I thought he was going to be. You know, I always love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think of this guy, Onyx Prime. Outside of that, I guess the only thing left to say is thanks for dropping by, thanks for giving me some of your extremely valuable time, and I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together when we take a look at the Predacon member Dive Bomb. He's going to be coming up next. So I very much look forward to the next time that we get together to have a look at him inside the videos.